Okay, I think I'm recording now. This is good. Oh, yo, we got 16 people in here. That's hype. Print hello world, yeah. Alright, so I did a lecture on this exact same topic last year. I don't know if you guys remember. You can probably guys don't remember. But it is on YouTube. It's on the 5 Have YouTube channel. So anything that uh I might say today or something, it might be slightly different from last year. You can always refer to it. I will record this session as well. So, uh, but you can always ask me if you need, me to like repeat something. I'll try to get to everyone's questions as much as I can. Um, but in the very worst case, you tell me I need the YouTube video or I need the recording, and I'll try to get it to you. Okay. Um, but yeah, that should be cool. That should be cool. Is everyone on board to start? Are we all ready? Are we ready, kids? Ooh. I think we're ready. Okay, so this is EP World History. I run with scissors. I'm hosting it. It's me. Uh, this is Unit 3 review. So Unit 3 uh is about land-based empires. If you actually look at the background, this is a I think a painting of the siege of Constantinople. Or I mean now it's called Istanbul, but it used to be called Constantinople. But this is a big event that I will be talking about later. I hope you guys can see my mouse. I think you can. Alright. Ooh, 19. Oh, some people are joining. Yes, please stay in the audience. Yes. Okay, so about us. So, who is even lecturing? Alright, that's a good question. So, well, I mean, I prepared this. I run with scissors. But I am part of a student organization called 5 Hive. And, you probably know what 5 Hive is already. Maybe. But 5 Hive is an organization that is, we volunteer, and what we do is we help students like you and students like me with their EP courses. And so we create like lectures, and we do, we record videos, write out documents, and help you with multiple choice questions and whatnot. And so you should totally check out 5 Hive. Um, it's a website as well, I believe. Yeah, it is. I put it in the chat. So you should totally check it out because it has a lot of materials. I don't know if EP World History has any articles. But I know like AP like calculus or AP I think US history has some articles. So if you're taking any of those classes, you should totally check them out. Also, if you want to join, if you want to like you know also lecture like me, you want to be on the stage like me, you can contribute to 5 Hive by joining them. So you can, I think this is the application. Yeah, this is the application. So you can join 5 Hive. Applications will be reviewed um, on a rolling basis. Is that cool? Oh yes, we have to say this, like even though we don't really want it. But there's a disclaimer that um, AP is a trademark registered by the College Board, which is not affiliated with and does not endorse this resource, nor the 5 Hive team. Okay, we are not part of any, you know, relationship with College Board. We're just a bunch of, just think of us as a bunch of dudes just making stuff for you guys, and that should be cool. Okay, so guidelines. So today I expect this lecture to be about 2 hours. I mean, plus or minus 30 minutes. It could be really short, it could be really long. So today we're gonna have a check-in in the middle of the lecture and one SAQ. So uh, as in like you guys will be doing it like practice. And then you guys can always there's a Q&A at the end, but you guys can you guys can ask questions whenever you want, and I'm chill with it. But just like don't spam questions. Don't put like 5 questions in a minute, because I gotta make it through everyone else's questions and also the material. Yes, please ask questions throughout the lecture and be respectful of your peers, right? I mean, this chat is like, basically dead. But like, don't be disrespecting other people or making fun of other people. Try not to. And have common sense. Okay, let's actually get into the content now. So, land-based empires. This is Unit 3. We are in a new time period from Unit 2, which was from 1200 to 1400. So this is 1450 to 1750. It's 300 years, which is a lot of time, but this is a pretty important period of time, especially for the AP exam. You will have a lot of questions on the multiple choice relating to this uh, unit of study, and um, definitely there's going to be a SAQ on this, I think, but don't quote me on that. So it's really separated into 3 chapters: uh, empires expansion, empires administration, and belief systems of the empires. There is a little hidden 4th chapter called the comparisons within empires, and this is just purely off the AP World CED. Uh, uh, it's honestly not that important though. I mean, you can kind of draw the conclusions for yourself. You don't really need to study it. All right, let's get going. So, let's talk about expanding of empires. All right. So, if any of you guys watch Heimler History, he created a video I remember like 2 years ago talking about gunpowder empires. So, what are gunpowder empires? Gunpowder empires are empires that use gunpowder. Wow. All right, mind blowing. But um, remember we're talking about 1450, the year 1450. But gunpowder was actually invented in China a long time ago. I think in the 1200s, right? So it's actually been a thing for a long time, and it's taken all these states of power. Oh yeah, no problem. It's taken all these states of power for like a good couple hundred years to get used to it, right? They had to experiment with all their guns and stuff, because you can't just bring out a new weapon onto the battlefield immediately. You gotta test it out, and so that's what they're doing. And so who are they that I'm talking about? So I'm talking about these 4 main empires, and they are the Ottoman Empire, Safavid Empire, Mughal Empire, and the Qing Dynasty. Sometimes you might hear your teacher call it the Mughal, or no, not Mughal, Manchu Empire. Uh, It's really just China though, so you don't really need to worry about it. I will say though, you should definitely memorize these 4. And the ones underlined are not as important. So they're the yeah, the Russian Empire, the Songhai Empire, which is I believe near Morocco, the Tokugawa Shogunate, which is it's a like a family dynasty within Japan, so it's like a Japanese empire, and the Aztec and Inca Empire. So they're in the Americas. But they don't really fit in with the other ones because they don't deal with gunpowder, and they're a lot less technologically advanced compared to the others. So we won't be talking about them. But if you're in an LEQ, you can definitely talk about them. They're definitely worth a point. If you mention them, you're gonna get a point on the essay. But I don't know if it's worth your time trying to memorize all of these, because if you just memorize the 4 main ones, it's probably gonna work out well for you. Alright, wait, so which of these empires are gunpowder empires? Okay, all of the above except for Aztec and Inca, I believe. Right? Yeah. Because remember, these are all part of the old world, and we're assuming that we don't even know about Christopher Columbus yet. We've never even heard of America yet. So, uh, you know, these are all part of the old world, and they're all connected, right? Yes, that's absolutely true. Yeah, yeah, definitely. In fact, I did the AP World exam like 2 years ago. I didn't know anything about Aztec and Inca. I'm not saying you should do that, but you know, all right. Are we cool to move on now? Or any other questions? Yes, yes. Unit 3 is honestly pretty like chill. I mean, there's not that much to worry about, but it is very important as in it's gonna get tested a lot. But the amount of studying you do is pretty small compared to the other units, in my opinion. So that's cool. So who are the Safavids? Okay, we're gonna get into that. So hold your horses. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna get into it. So exciting. I know, right? It's so exciting. Ooh. All right, let's go. Let's get going. If there are no objections, no objections. Okay, so how do I remember my empires? Oh yeah. So this is a great way to memorize your empires, and I stole this off of Freemanpedia. He has a YouTube channel. Check it out. It's really cool. He covers EP World History, but really it's an acronym, and it just says MOMS, MOMS. And it stands for Manchu Ottoman Empire, Mughals, and Safavids, right? And this is a really good way of memorizing it because, on exam day, you I don't know, you didn't eat breakfast or something, and uh, you slept 5 hours, and your brain is, I don't know, going crazy. So you just one less thing to remember is just an acronym, which is easy to remember. So MOMS. And I believe that's the Safavid Empire's flag on the bottom. Looks really cool. And then on the top, the three little moons is the Ottoman Empire. I like the Ottoman one. The Ottoman one looks kind of cool. All right, let's get going. If there are no questions, could you replace Manchu or Mughal with Ming? Cause Manchu is the same as Mughal, or uh, you're gonna have to rephrase that question because I'm not understanding. Can you run that back? Um, yes, but what Stage King it says is right. So Mughal is a Indian, or it's not like only Indian. I believe they have a little bit of Afghanistan, but uh, it's mostly Indian. And the Manchu Empire is Chinese. So they took over from the Ming Dynasty. But we're gonna talk about that later, because the Chinese part of this unit is a little bit confusing. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, the Ming is important though, because it's like a kind of like a golden age of China, other than the Song Dynasty, I believe, because there's a lot of cultural, artistic, economic development during that time of the Ming Dynasty, which is it's actually really important for this AP World exam, but it's not as important as others. All right, let's get going. Yes, yes, Zheng He was the guy yapping about how good China is. Yeah, he was just like kind of glazing China and stuff. All right, expanding of empire. We're still on 3.1. So why did they expand? So we talked about gunpowder, right? I don't know if you guys know this, but when the Europeans they went to the Americas, right, and they pulled out their gunpowder weapons and they started shooting, like they were the Native Americans were absolutely terrified, right? It's literally a stick of explosion, right? It is absolutely terrifying, especially if in all your years of existence you've never seen anything like a gunpowder weapon before, right? And so you know gunpowder weapons are diabolical, right? They're extremely effective in murdering a lot of people. I hate to say this, but they're extremely effective at that. And so gunpowder is the main reason why they expanded because they were just so good at killing people. Okay. And so whenever you have an SAQ or a LEQ talking about, why did, so and so expand, you can always talk about gunpowder. Just put that in the back of your mind. Okay. But if you want to be more specific, some of the empires they grew and expanded differently compared to others of their time. Okay. And so why do we got a lot of people leaving and joining? Please sit still. Okay, so the Ottomans, why did they grow? So if you guys know about the Roman Empire, the western part fell in about the 400s, but the eastern part continued for about like 1,000 years, which is a very long time. But over that time, they began growing smaller and smaller, giving rise to new states. And so one of these new states was the Ottoman Empire. So the Ottoman Empire was, I believe, established in 1299, and the Roman Empire was, already on the decline, but the Ottoman Empire just started taking stuff from the previously Roman Empire. Some people call it the Byzantine Empire. Um, and if you see on the map, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but if you see on the map, this is where they started in Anatolia, and then they conquered a little bit to the coast, and then they went inwards. Did the Ottomans grow because they seized Anatolia and Constantinople? Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, and then they eventually in 1453 they grew so powerful that they destroyed the Byzantine Empire forever in 1453. But really, I'm trying to illustrate that there was a power vacuum, right? They took over an already declining empire, so that was really helpful for them in their growth. Another one that helped them grow was some OP water control. Alright, so what do I mean by that? So there's this really small strait, and it's called the Strait of Dardanelles. Right, and if you want to get to the Black Sea, which is the area near Russia and Crimea, then you have to get through that little strait from the Mediterranean Sea. There's no other way. Right, and this is a key part of why they were able to grow so much. Because if anyone wanted to go into the Black Sea, they had to pay a tax to go through the water. Right, it's kind of like the Panama Canal. It's like the only way, right? And so this gives them hella money, right? Hella money, um, to fund stuff. Okay, and then so the Janissaries as well. The Janissaries are an elite fighting military group, part of the Ottoman Empire, and they're really good at their job, and they were taking control of everything, right? They were going crazy, they were going haywire, started, shooting all their gunpowders up, shooting their enemies up as well. And so really, these three in combination really did a lot for the Ottomans, and that's why they're so influential. Even to this day, they're so influential. Okay, the Safavid Empire. So the Safavid Empire is, I don't know if you can see, but it's near Iran. Uh, kind of borders right along the Ottoman Empire's border, the little green border, and for good reason, because they were always fighting. But the reason Safavid Empire grew so much is also because of a power vacuum, but a different empire. It was the Mongol Empire. If you remember from Unit 2, um, when the Mongol Empire collapsed, there was uh, a Khanate, which is a smaller piece of the empire that um, took over Persia, right? It was called the Ilkhanate, I believe. And once they were destroyed, or they were declining already, they became destroyed after the Safavids revolted against them and kicked them out of Persia, basically. And then they also enslaved Christians. So they went over to the Caucasus Mountains and they took a bunch of Christian people. They enslaved them and then they just grab them and put them into their army. So it's like free labor. It's basically slavery. I mean, it is slavery. Yeah. The Mughal Empire. So the Mughal Empire also had a power vacuum. And so these three empires are really lucky in how they were formed because they formed right around the time there was a power vacuum. And so this one is from Unit 1, I believe, the Delhi Sultanate. And so they were on the decline already, and they just took them over. The Mughals also grew a lot because they were they didn't have to kill everybody to take over places. They took over places willingly or peacefully sometimes because of the religious tolerance, right? So religion, I mean, maybe it doesn't have that much of an influence today to people's minds, but back then, I mean, it was like their whole world, right? So if someone was a Hindu and the Mughals are Muslim, if you tell them, oh, you can still be a Hindu, then they don't really care, right? They'll be like, thanks. We're gonna join your forces now, and that's how it went. They were religiously tolerant, and being kind pays off, I guess. And then they also had hella money. Remember, India is super duper rich, right? And remember Christopher Columbus? He was trying to find India because he was trying to get some money from the spice trade. The Indian continent had the Indian subcontinent had a lot of spices, and therefore they had a lot of money. Okay, it's important to get down if anyone's like writing stuff. I doubt anyone's writing anything down, but um yeah. Oh, did which were Shia Muslim and which were Sunni? So, we will get into that. Yeah, but the Shia Muslims were Safavids, and then the Ottomans and the Mughals were uh Sunni Muslims. And I forget the difference, but I think it has something to do with who shall be the successor after Muhammad or the caliph or something. And so I think Sunnis are like it doesn't have to be someone of Muhammad's family, but then like the Shias believe something else. I don't really remember. Yes, precisely. The Dardanelles. So I will write it down. That is not how you spell Dardanelle. All right. Let's. You want to get going? Is that important? It might be important. I mean, I don't think you have to name drop it. You can just say they had OP water control. I mean, don't write that on the exam. Actually, you know what? Maybe you should write that on the exam. Any other questions? Any other questions on the SAQ or something? Yes. Any other questions? I'm noticing there's only like the same three people talking in chat. Anyone else want to contribute? Or are we good being silent? We're just listening silently. That's cool. Nah, we're good for now. Okay. I'm gonna take silence as a we're good. Okay. So it's the expanding of empire. So who is fighting? Remember, so who are the players? The Moms, right? The Manchu, Ottoman, Mughal, and Safavid. What is the power vacuum in the Mughals? Oh, the Delhi Sultanate. So if you I think this is covered in Unit 1. But it's like a sultanate of Indian people, and they kind of took control, and they were very rich. And then the Mughals took them over. They were not that important, I think, honestly. I never studied them. What does the power vacuum mean? Oh, so power vacuum is when some state was really big. I mean, it doesn't have to be big, but it was pretty strong, and then over time they got corrupted and they became less powerful, and they started losing land and money and influence, and then eventually another state next to them maybe took them over, and they said, you know what, we're in charge now, and then they just steamrolled them. That's what a power vacuum. Are we gonna know the different ways empires use gunpowder? There's only really one way to use gunpowder is to shoot stuff. Or you can blow stuff up with cannons and stuff, which is pretty cool, pretty epic. It's all about blowing people up. Yes, cannons are the way to go. All right, so expand. Any other questions? Oh, Unit 6. Yes, I also will be doing a Unit 6 lecture. I think next week, same time. So, should totally come. All right, who is fighting? So the Safavids and Mughals. the Safavids and Ottomans, the Ottomans in Austria, the Ottomans in Russia, and the Russians and Siberians. So I just said a bunch of names, and it's just names, right? So the Safavids and Mughals and the Safavids and Ottomans are kind of crazy, right? So their beef is absolutely diabolical. Like the Safavids are just like they just hate everyone, right? They're just trying to fight everyone. And what? Okay, yeah, the Safavids are just trying to fight everyone. Um, and if you guys know geography, they're positioned near Persia. The Mughals are east of Persia, and then the Ottomans are west of Persia. And so they're you can imagine the Safavids are sandwiched in between these two other empires. And so really what a lot of the time they're doing is um they're fighting, right? They're fighting because they got to defend their homeland, defend their uh territory, And there's also especially religious differences with the Safavids and the other empires, which is also part of the reason why they're fighting. Okay? The Ottomans in Austria. So the Ottomans, if you guys saw the little picture earlier, but the Ottomans actually are not just in the Middle East. They are um, part of Europe as well, near the Balkans region, southwest or southeast Europe. And so they became so powerful eventually that they walked all the way up to Austria, which is uh, it's not too far from the Balkans, but it's a little close. It's in Central Europe. Yeah, here. And so they eventually got so far to there that they actually started fighting Austrians, and they actually sieged Vienna. It didn't fall, but they sieged it, I think, multiple times. And the entirety of Europe was kind of freaking out over this stuff. And understandably, because they never encountered really such a strong army before. The Ottomans in Russia. So if I go back to like map earlier, the Ottomans they had Crimea a little bit. They would fight many Crimean wars, I believe, or many wars over Crimea with Russia, because Russia is trying to gain uh, a sphere of influence, a little territory near the Black Sea, so they can trade. Because trade is important, right? It's not all just about killing each other. It's about trading, and then you kill each other. But trading is dude, Russia. No, for real. Okay, let's not talk about that. But for real, Russia is trying to get a foothold in the Crimean Peninsula, the water area, so they can get money. They can get money, right? Because I mean, relatively, the Russian state is pretty poor, right? They don't actually have that much money, which is why they're fighting Siberians. So this brings me to my last point: Russians and Siberians. So remember, we're always talking about land-based empires as opposed to like water-based or sea-based empires. And so the land empires really they're just conquering land, which is what it is. But Russians they border like Lithuania or yeah Lithuania. They border Poland, which is the same thing as they're part of a commonwealth. Um, they border uh whatever Ukraine. I think I don't really know if Ukraine was a thing back then, but they were bordering people that were kind of strong, and they realized that you know you got to pick your battles, and they picked the battles where they won, which is a bunch of um, Siberians. So if you can imagine a bunch of Siberians are just like it's a big, vast, cold place, right? It's where they used to send like I think they still do. They send a bunch of fugitives to Siberia because it's so miserable. It's there's like nothing there. It's just ice and nothing. Uh, and it's so miserable, but people live there still. And then they took over Siberia because they realized uh skill issue, right? They couldn't fight against other people. That's how disadvantaged they were, I guess. But that's why Russia is so big now. Russia, I believe it's the largest country on Earth. And if you look on a globe or a map, you will see how large Russia is. It's because they took over the Siberian. areas. Kind of, but they finished conquering around like I think 1800s. But it's been going. They did it for like 200 years, I think. Yeah, but it's an ongoing process. Okay. Any other question? Any questions? Any questions? And also, oh yes, the power vacuum. The power vacuum for the Safavid Empire was not only the Mongol Empire, but it was also an empire called the Timurids. I don't know, write that down. Timurids or the Timurs, the Timur Empire. And they were an extension of the Mongols, which is the same thing. All right, we're going, moving on. So Manchus were peaceful. No, they weren't. They were just the Manchus were not peaceful. They were just they're not in the College Board CED, so we're not mentioning them. No, no, but the Manchus they were fighting Mongolians. They were fighting uh people in Western China. There's a lot of political issues about Western China, the Uyghur people, kind of like those people, right? I mean, I don't know if they're farmers really, but I mean, I guess they are. They don't really have a state, like a unified state, and so China was just massacring them. They also went down south a little bit. Um, oh, they took Taiwan apparently, and also Korea. Wow. Yeah, that was kind of crazy. But yeah, they also had a lot of Central Asia. Um, if you guys know where that is, I don't really know any countries there. Like I think like what like Kyrgyzstan or something, Uzbekistan. Manchus evolved into the Qings, and they fought the Ming Dynasty to control. Yeah. Well, they didn't evolve. I mean, they were the Qing Dynasty and the Manchu Empire are the same thing, and they fought the Ming Dynasty to control. Yeah, they took over the Ming Dynasty. They were like, you know what, we're gonna ransack the capital, and then they did. Anything else? All right. So we have finished Unit 3.1, which is the expanding of Empire. There's probably more to talk about, but I think I got the gist of it, and I think you guys get the gist of it. It's all about gunpowder and about killing people. Okay. The administration of Empire. Okay, so really what this chapter is talking about is how did all these states that I just talked about, how do they run their empire, right? Because you can't just kill a bunch of people and then you have an empire, because then people are gonna revolt and people are gonna get mad at you for killing everyone, right? So you have to do two things. You have to consolidate your power, and you have to legitimize them. Legitimize your power, yeah. They don't know the difference between them, legitimizing and consolidating. If you know, you should put in the chat. By the way, all right. Well, I'll just say it. So, oh, people are typing. Okay, good question. We're gonna go over that right now. So, legitimizing and consolidating are pretty important on the AP exam. When I took it 2 years ago, it was on one of the SAQs, I think. It's like reinforcing your power to maintain an empire or whatever. Yeah, yeah, like that. You don't have to answer that, Bauer. What you get. Okay. So consolidating and legitimizing. I'm just gonna say it. So legitimizing is to say, yeah, um, yeah. Actually, I believe whoever wrote that in chat is correct. Legitimizing is making the power look like actual power, right? It's it's basically showing off your power. I mean, it's saying, let's take the Ottoman Empire for example. If I'm the new ruler of this big, big place, right? Then um I need people to know that I am the ruler, right? So I need to show them how powerful I am. I need to show them, okay, well, you know, uh, this is how powerful I am, and I do a big demonstration, and I say, if you can't go against me because bad things will happen to you, right? And that effectively, I mean, that stops a lot of people from revolting. And it's what happens in a lot of places, actually. This is a big slide, or I put a lot of text onto this slide. You don't have to read it, but it would be good to. Okay, so yeah, and then consolidating means to just grab power. And so effectively, it's like, how do we create a dictatorship or something, right? How do we create like a big, powerful monarchy or empire, right? How do we create a powerful empire, an emperor, right? So the Ottomans did this with a large bureaucracy, and also the Chinese also did this with a large bureaucracy. If you remember in Unit 1, they had the civil service exam. They had a very, very, very large bureaucracy. And so really, they had a Dev Sherme system. Is consolidation more of the idea? No, so consolidation is just grabbing it, right? It's getting all the eggs in one basket. And then legitimizing is showing people, yo, look at how powerful I am. And that's really it. Pretty simple. Alright, so the way the Dev Shermi system worked with the Ottoman Empire is they went when they went to go kill people in the European the southeastern Europe, they killed a bunch of the adults, but then they saw these little children, right? Little Christian children. And so what they did is they I believe they castrated them. And then they kidnapped them, forced them to convert into Islam, and then they put them into the government. And the really smart. Okay, how about let's not talk about it. Uh, uh, yeah. So yeah, they kidnapped little Christian children, and then they did some stuff to them, and then they grabbed the smartest people of the bunch and put them into the government. And so this is called the Dev Sherme system, I believe. And this meant that a lot of the really smart people were running the government, and that's a really good thing to do. Because good luck, thank you. It's a really good thing to do to have smart people in your government. I mean, if because you can have people not revolt very much. If you had really smart policies and really smart, yeah, I mean, it's almost it's kind of a meritocracy. I mean, the guy at the top still was like I think bloodline related, but everyone else was like pretty meritocratic, I would say. Not too much, but like pretty crazy for the time because back then, all my family would be in the government or something like that, right? It would be no educated people, basically. I mean, not no educated people, but it'll all be nepotism, right? Where was the meritocracy other than the Song China for other empires? I just said the Dev Sherme system, which is in the Ottoman Empire. And I believe other countries did this too. Um, but the Ottoman one is the one to remember because it is a name drop in the CED, and you should definitely mention it in SAQ or LEQ. Okay, so this is how they legitimized it. They or no, this is how they consolidated it, right? And they had a lot of power because of these officials. But you can also legitimize your power with religion, art, and architecture. So what do I mean by that? So remember, legitimizing is just like a verb, right? It's just an action that people do. They just legitimize their power. But how do you do it? You use these three tools. You use religion, art, and architecture. And you can use other stuff, but this is the stuff that's pretty important. Um, so if you look at the painting on the right, I think it's a painting. This is the emperor of Qing Dynasty. Uh, I believe his name, yeah, Kangxi. Kangxi? If I said that right. But what he did is remember the divine right of kings, which Louis Emperor for France. So he was well, they were all of them really. All of them were the divine right of kings. So remember the Qing Empire is made up of Manchu people, right? The Manchu people are, I mean, nowadays I think they're technically Chinese, but back then they weren't, seen as Chinese. They were from the north, Northerners, and they were very, not very distinct, but they were kind of distinct from the other, the the other Han peoples, and so really they're like a bunch of outsiders ruling the government. It's like, if you live in America or something, you had a Canadian dude just be the president, right? It's like kind of weird, isn't that weird? So so this Canadian dude has to legitimize his power. He needs to say like, "Yo, I am fit to be the president," right? And so that's what Kangxi is doing here. He's saying, I'm fit for this because um of what I'm about to say is that he made a painting. He had a lot of paintings actually. This is one of them. But he put them outside the palace walls, and all the paintings depict him in a traditional Chinese depiction. Right? He looks like a Han Chinese here. He probably doesn't look like this in real life, but everyone who saw the paintings was like, damn, maybe he is kind of Han Chinese, right? And so they were like, maybe we should support him. Maybe he isn't really an outsider, such an outsider that we thought. He understands us, right? And it's good to have a leader that you like because then, you won't overthrow them. Does anyone have any tips for remembering what all the empires and dynasties are all because the names just mixes together for me? Uh, yeah, moms, yes. If you were talking about the Chinese ones, there is a little song that you can sing that I will show you later, maybe at the end. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so these paintings, they were really, they were, they were. Oh yes, dude, I do know the song. The paintings, they really depicted him as, part of the people, right? He was yes, mandate of heaven, exactly. Mandate of heaven is like the same thing as divine right to rule, kind of the same thing. Confucianism was still strong. I mean, it's still strong to this day. I mean, Chinese society still um follows Confucianism a little, at least a little bit, I believe. Um, but the mandate of heaven was used to justify. Okay. Okay, the divine right to rule. So like, the divine right to rule just basically says it's a pretty simple concept. It says, God gave me the right to rule. I don't know, Britain or something. And if you don't like me, that means you don't like the guy that God appointed, which means you don't like God. And if you don't like God, you're going to hell, right? That's how it worked back then. That's what the monarch said. And so basically, you are not allowed to not like the king or not like the emperor because you're gonna go to hell if you do that. You will literally get murked, right? And you're gonna get slammed out by the emperor. And that's not good to do. It appeals to religious authority. Yep. Yep. Perfectly said. And this is definitely a big thing to talk about on the AP exam, right? Talk about the divine right to rule. Alright. And I'm talking about, oh my god, I'm yapping so much. Is this too much? Do I need more pictures? I hope I'm not boring you guys. Okay. But the Palace of Versailles. So remember, we're talking about the divine right to rule, and I was talking about Britain. But really, yeah, we're gonna talk about the tax system later. Yeah. Okay, so I was talking about Britain earlier, but let's talk about France. So, believe it's around the 1600s. There was a ruler called Louis the 14th, right? And so, if you guys don't know your Louis, which you really should, no, I'm just kidding. Louis the 14th is the not the grandfather, maybe the great grandfather of Louis the 16th. And Louis the 16th is the guy who got his head chopped off. Um, with the guillotine and stuff. That guy. Anyway, so Louis the 14th was he was a dude on a power trip, right? He made a huge palace to live in. And he had so much cool stuff in there. It was so big and so beautiful, and had a big fountain. In fact, you can visit it today. It's really cool. There's a really cool attraction inside of it. It's called like the Hall of Mirrors, I believe, and it's just a bunch of mirrors, which was kind of crazy back then because they used to be really expensive. But really, this huge palace, it shows like, you know, you can't go against me, right? Like, if I'm Louis the 14th and you're like some peasant, right? And you're trying to like overthrow me or something, just look at my house and then look at your house, right? Are you really gonna try that? No, you're not, right? It's like flexing your Lambo in front of like a Prius or something, right? It's like, we're at a different level. Okay, don't even try. And so that's how they legitimized it. They said you can't even you literally you cannot do this, right? You're not him. Um, and that's a really good way of legitimizing your power, but it's also a really good way for people to hate you, which is why his grandson got his head chopped off. So probably don't do that. Um, the Hagia Sophia. So, um, oh my God, am I yapping? I feel like I'm yapping so much. So the Hagia Sophia used to be a church. Okay, great. So the Hagia Sophia used to be a church. I don't know what it used to be called, but remember when the Byzantine Empire was still there? Um, the Byzantine Empire was there, and they had a big church, and it was said that the ceiling was so tall it was like hung from heaven, right? That's how big it was, and it was like absolutely amazing, and it's I think it still stands today, and it's a big attraction for Turkish tourism. But basically, when the Ottoman Empire took over the 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 city, they also took over the church, and they didn't destroy the church. They said, you know what, we're gonna convert the church. So they converted it from a Christian place of worship to a mosque. So now it's a mosque, and it's not exactly um it's not exactly like showcasing how powerful you are, but I mean kind of. But it shows like a conversion. If you convert the church from a Christian one uh to an Islamic one, you're kind of saying, our society is stronger than the Roman Empire, right? And remember, like, I think every single one of us in here thinks about the Roman Empire at least 5 times a day, right? I mean, how many times do you guys think about the Roman Empire? I think about it like 6 times, 6 or 7 times. And so, um, remember, the Roman Empire is on everyone's minds. If you say that you're stronger than the Roman Empire and the peasants believe that, dude, you are going crazy, right? You are cracked out of your mind. You're saying that you're stronger than the Roman Empire. That's an egregious statement to say, but it's probably true for the Roman Empire or for the Ottomans. And that's how they legitimized their power. They said we're stronger than the Romans. And if you're stronger than the Romans, then man, I do not want to fight you, right? No one wants to fight you if you're stronger than the Romans. Wasn't the Hagia Sophia burnt down during a riot? Uh, I have no idea. I have no idea. That's a question for Google. All right, the tax systems now. We're gonna get more into this, but the tax systems, the Ottomans and the Mughals both had tax systems, and they were also a way they consolidated power. And so remember, I probably would have done a better job of this, but I should have separated each of these terms by legitimizing or consolidating. But you should know which one it would be. So the tax systems were to consolidate, and to an extent legitimized as well. I mean, so the tax farming was made by the Ottomans, and they, um, yo, on God, I don't remember, but it's something to name drop. I know what the Zamindar system is. The Zamindar system was made by the Mughal Empire, and they had an auction, right? Like just imagine an auction, and the highest bidder would get the right to tax, I don't know, the entire province, right? Tax farming. Um, tax farming. I'll get to that in a little bit. But remember, the Zamindar system is it's like an auction for the for like a bunch of nobles. So they had a bunch of nobles, and they would bid on it, and the highest bidder would say, "Yes, I get to tax everyone now," which is, it kind of sounds boring, but it was a way to generate a lot of money. And then they handed most of the money to the Mughal government, the big boy government in I don't know where their capital was, probably like Delhi or something, or Mumbai. And I think the Ottomans actually did this too. I think that's what tax farming is. They're both like the same thing. But remember, you don't have to remember too hard, you don't have to say like, oh, well, this guy, he sneezed at like at 5 a.m. on this day in history. Like, no one really cares. You just need to remember the overall developments and what happened and usually why. Okay? Are we good? We should get going to the next slide. Oh my, Jesus, it's 5:50. I really am yapping a lot. Oh, seems like we got a question in the chat. Yep, 5:50. All right, Pacific time. I don't know what time it is in Eastern time. It's like what, 3 or it's 3 hours ahead, so like 8 or something. 8:50 maybe. Yeah, sorry. I don't know if I'm like interfering with like your dinner time or like your homework studying time or whatever, but sorry. Oh wait, this is your studying time. Yeah. Also, the Ottoman system is yeah. I'm not gonna try and pronounce that because I'm not good enough for that. But yeah, what he said. Check out the chat. Okay, so 3.3 belief systems. Um, you'll notice that the administration of empire is pretty short. I mean, it's all about legitimizing and consolidating, and then that's really all it is about. Um, so we're gonna talk about belief systems. Belief systems are also a way that they legitimize and consolidate. So you can also apply them to that. I think I'll tell you about a little bit of it, but you guys can do it on your own. I mean, I don't know what unit you guys are on. It's like April, right? You guys should have covered this in like October or something. I don't know. But belief system. So remember that we entered our review unit. Good. So belief systems are important in the old world. They're very, very important. Um, and it's because religion was everything back then, right? And so I don't really remember when exactly, but it was around the 1400s area where Martin Luther, not to be confused with Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther said, "You know what? I hate the Catholic Church." He was a German monk. He probably was really angry at something. I don't really remember, but he was really angry, and he said, "I hate the church." And so he came up. He sat down home at night, and he was like having dinner or something, and he was like, "Why do I hate the church?" And so he eventually came up with 95 reasons why. Right? That should be a book. Oh, I think it might be a book. 95 reasons. All right, and so he was outraged, and so he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna put this paper of all these 95 reasons of why I hate the church. I'm gonna put it on the wall. And then these 95 reasons became really popular actually. A lot of people started listening to him because they realized, what he was talking about was actually correct. I mean, you know, the Catholic Church was pretty corrupt, and so really he hated corruption in the Catholic Church. And I think everyone is talking about indulgences in in the chat, and that's definitely part of the reason, but it's not all the reasons, right? Yeah, and so if you don't know what indulgences is, it means it's like a pay to win feature. So imagine like EA was like in real life. I mean, it is in real life, but like, what if EA decided if you went to heaven or hell, right? That would be diabolical. So you don't want to have the pay to win system. Um, and remember, everyone was like, everyone was so scared of going to hell. Remember, you guys know about the Crusades? These guys went all the way to the Holy Land just to fight so that they wouldn't go to hell. That is how, and most of them did not survive, right? Well, some people survived, but a lot of them didn't. And these people went so far away from their home just to get away from their sins, so they wouldn't go to hell. That's how scared people were. So you can imagine how scared people were if they were not able to pay the indulgences, right? And they committed a sin. Their entire family and their bloodline was um you know condemned forever to eternal damnation, right? It was super scary. So back then there used to be two types called the Roman Catholic Church and the Orthodox Christian Church. And it actually split in like the 1000s, but we don't need to know that. There's two types now, okay? And so one of them is more Western European and Southern European, and one of them is more Eastern, right? And so this German dude started this big reformation, this huge catastrophe in Europe. It was so crazy. I mean, was the Roman Empire Catholic and Byzantine Orthodox? Yep, yep, that's right. Okay, and then oh yeah, there was also a Gutenberg. This I don't know, this guy named Gutenberg. He created a Bible. He created a printing machine, printing press, and he just started printing hella books, right? And that was perfect for Martin Luther. He was like an entrepreneur kind of, I guess. He was like, "Yo, let's start writing some books and let's start shipping them. Let's start shipping it out." And he started shipping out a bunch of Protestant books, and everyone was like, "Damn, like holy crap! I realized I do hate the Catholic Church." And so everyone started converting to Protestantism, Protestantism, yes, which is a new type of Christianity. And I put an image here, and there's a bunch of different types: the Baptist, Anglican, Pentecostal, Lutheran. Uh, I think Methodist was invented in America. Uh, the the Mormons, right? That's a Protestant. And what the hell is snake handler? But really, we got all these new types of Christianity, and Catholics are going haywire. They're saying we're losing a bunch of control over everyone because if no one believes in Catholicism, we no longer have something to hold above their head, and so this creates a lot of war. If you guys know about the 30 Years' War, that's a pretty big event in Europe, and it was mainly because of religious differences. And remember, like these guys, they're all Christian, you know that, right? And like, I mean, Protestants and Catholics, they'll probably get mad at you if you say this, but they're pretty similar to be honest. I mean, they just like disagree on some stuff. Um, but there was so much blood shed because of these wars, because of these differences, which is kind of heartbreaking. But that's what Europe is doing. They always love to, kill each other during this time period. And so, in response, the Catholic Church says, "Okay, we gotta do better, right? We gotta do better." And so they do something called the Catholic Reformation. You might hear it called the Counter Reformation. Same thing. I mean, right? They're the same thing. They change up a lot of their laws and rules in the church, and I mean, I do have to admit they did. save themselves a little bit because they did stop on the indulgences stuff, right? They stopped being so pay to win. Um, but everyone already made up their minds that they hated Catholics, so it's kind of too late, to be honest. But yeah, that's about it. And so the Christianity is an important. It's a very important in Europe. Now in Unit 3, you don't really focus too much on Europe. You focus on the Middle East, and India. But knowing about European beliefs is pretty important when you get a SAQ that doesn't constrict yourself into the Middle East. You might get a SAQ or LEQ that says demonstrate some change of religion during this time period or something, and you can talk about the Protestant Reformation. You can also talk about the Catholic Reformation because they changed. So remember, continuity and change is one of the, I don't know what it's called. It's one of the key features, key important ideas of uh, a college board history for all their history classes. Historical thinking skills, yes. And so remember, always to be thinking about continuity and change. Always be thinking about cause and effect, right? I don't really remember what all they were. I I really can't remember the rest, but you know these are some big buzzwords to throw in when you have an essay, and then you just kind of argue for them. What is CCOT? I don't really remember. Continuity and change your time, comparison and causation. Yes, the bunch of C's basically. Okay, are we ready to move on? I think we are ready to move on. We got 20 people in this lecture. Was that less than last year? I think I had like 30. Oh, it is April though. I did do my lecture last year in May. Okay, let's get going. So 3.3 belief system. So we're still on talking about religion, but we're talking about uh Islam now. We're not talking about Christianity. So Islam is, you probably know this. Islam is the major religion of the Middle East, even to this day. But it was even more so during this time period, I believe. With the exception of like Armenia, I think they were like the first Christian nation in history. I think. I think it's in the Bible. Um, but so there's two types of Islam, and I remember someone was talking about it in the chat earlier, but it's called Sunni and Shia. I'm probably saying it wrong, but that's like my Americanized way of saying it. So the main question that I underlined and bolded is why are the Safavids, Mughals, and Ottomans always beefing? Yes. I think we will get into that later, but if I don't, you should remind me. So the reason that they were always beefing is because they were different types of Islam, right? And back then, I mean, kind of the thing to do was if someone disagreed with you at all in the slightest, the number one thing to do was to kill them. All right. This sounds hilarious to say out loud, but it kind of is true. If someone was different to you, just kill them. That's how it was. And so it basically gave an excuse to kill each other, but really they also wanted to take each other's territory. And so if you actually notice, the borders of these countries where more than half of the population is Shia is actually very similar to the borders of the Safavid Empire. The Safavid Empire was Iranian and a little bit of Iraq, and you can see this is true. And then the rest of the Middle East, right? Afghanistan, Pakistan. I don't know if Pakistan is Middle Eastern, but Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Syria, Turkey, they were all Sunni Islam, and they were part of the other empires. So this still, you can still see this to this day, right? It's still here. Um, and yeah, it's pretty remarkable to think about. What were the reasons that Sufi was more accepting? Okay, see ya. See ya. The Sufi missionaries. I honestly don't really know what you're asking, but okay. Let's get going. So I, dude, I don't even know what Sufi is. Um, so Sikhism, I remember this is a really important thing to talk about too, because it's a continuity and change over time. So around this time period, Sikhism became a thing. It was a new religion, right? And it kind of developed near India. I think northwestern India, I believe. And one of the prominent features of it is that they believed in one God, but they also believed in the cycle of birth and death. So, if you guys know anything about Islam and Hinduism, Islam is, it's quite famous for its gender hierarchy. Uh, men are supposed to be above women, or I mean, not technically, but like they kind of are in Islam. And then in Hinduism, there's a, I believe there's a, what is it called? Samsara. It's like the, it's like the death and rebirth cycle, right? And then you are trying to reach nirvana, which is like to escape the cycle. Like you're trying to escape the matrix, really. And so, really, what Sikhism is they believed in this matrix of birth and death, but then they were like, okay, well, we got to stop with the caste system. All right, we got to stop with it. Which basically says, like people are split into hierarchies, and modern day India is still affected by the caste system. I mean, people will have arranged marriages within their own caste. Marry without, you cannot marry out of your caste, which is kind of crazy. Um, but then there's also no more gender hierarchy, so it's like a blend of the good stuff, I guess. I don't know if you can say the good stuff, but it's a blend of a lot of stuff, and this is a change and a continuity. It's both continuity because there's still the birth and death cycle, but then there's change. There's no more caste system and there's no more gender hierarchy, and so the Sikhism is a really nice thing to talk about, and it's so free points because you can just talk about basically anything to do with religion with Sikhism. Okay, okay. Any questions in the chat? Put in the chat, please, if you got any questions. Please, please, please. All right, no questions. Good. Everyone's getting it. Okay, so here's my okay, 3.4. So 3.4 is like, I mean, it's kind of stupid to be honest. It's like all about comparing stuff, and you can do that yourself. I mean, so someone get out pen and paper. You don't have to get pen and paper, but type it in the chat. Compare these empires, okay? The question one is compare the Ottomans and the Safavids. Question two is compare the Qings and the Mughals. So this is I want you guys to do this in chat, please. If you haven't talked in chat at all, please, I recommend you do it. This is good practice. Even no matter how much you think it's stupid, you should still do it. Okay? Trust me on this. And maybe I'll give you guys like 3 minutes or something. All right. It doesn't have to be like in the SAQ style. You can compare it and you can do it in like SAQ style, but um I'll just give you guys time. All right, I think everyone's close to being done. So I will look at these. Okay, so Blood says Ottomans were Sunni and Safavid were Shia. That's right. Um, because of religious differences caused conflict. Sure. The Ottomans and Safavids were different in the style of Islam that they used. Yep. Ottomans and Safavids, both gunpowder um, sect differences. Who said that? I can't even see their name. Oh, because I have OBS open. Um, Qing is basically a Chinese and Mughal Indian. They both were basically foreign or not ethnically alike as the population. Cool. Qing and Mughal. Mughal is a gunpowder empire. Qing is too. Tree DT says Ottoman Sunni Turks expanded towards Europe, but started in Asia Minor. Cool. Both have the boom boom powder, Islamic, and took cultural differences from Arabia. That's true, but you make sure you mention that there are different types of Islam, remember. Ottomans and Safavids were rivals because they used Sunni and Shia Islam respectively, but were both gunpowder empires. Perfect. And then Emerald says Ottoman and Safavid empires both land-based. Yep, that's right. Okay. Looks like you guys are getting the hang of this. Yeah, these are all right. These are all right. It's mainly about religion, right? Religion and guns. It's like all there is to it, to this unit, to be honest. Pretty simple unit. Let's get going. Yep, good. And for the Qing and Mughal, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but remember the Mughals were Muslims. The the rest of the Indians, most of their subjects were Hindu. They were not Muslims. But they were, they were tolerant about it. They were like, it's cool if you're Hindu. And then the Qing were Manchu. They were Northern Chinese. And then the rest of China was Han, or mostly Han Chinese. Are we good? I think we're good. Oh, we got another check-in. Oh my goodness. So, this doesn't have to be in an SAQ format again, but what does it mean to legitimize rule, and how did empires do this? Maybe give an example. And which empires did this? Maybe some prominent ones, right? Name me some prominent ones. And then question two, why were many empires able to expand during this period? I'll give you guys like 3 minutes, back in. Alright, looks like everyone's about to be done. Legitimizing rule is pretty much a way for empires to say that they have power to the empire's subjects. Golden Temple. Empires were able to expand because of gunpowder. Cool. Good. To legitimize rule, an empire would use religion or architecture to show their subjects. Mandate of heaven. Cool. Legitimize rule is to show off why you should follow them. So I don't know about the Jung He one, cause I don't know if he was even working for the. I think he was actually. Yeah, that's true. We would expand because of gunpowder. Gunpowder. Mandate of heaven. Cool. Okay, so it looks like everyone's getting this right. This is good. Good. Any other questions? Any questions? Pressing issues, comments, and concerns? No? Okay. So, how to get 5? Oh. Yeah, the power vacuums that I was talking about. But the thing is, like, gunpowder is super easy to talk about. If you talk about other empires, then you will have to, get into the specifics. Um, like, it's each empire grew differently. The Safavid, for example, they grew a lot later than the Ottomans. And then the Mughals, they didn't really they used force, but they weren't as strong militarily. Um, they didn't really adapt. They just got taken over. And I guess they fought back with gunpowder. Like if we're talking about like the Ottomans and the Safavids, they were just clashing together, and they were shooting gunpowder at each other, right? But if it was like Russia or something, I mean Russia didn't even have that much gunpowder to be honest. But Russia, they would just like shoot the freaking Siberians and like that was done. Like they didn't have anything else. They were basically fighting like they were just fighting like people who had no experience with fighting. Just kind of crazy. Yeah, Safavids and Ottomans, they were just like beefing the whole time. You guys know like that one meme of like the two dogs barking next to each other, like and there's like a glass door or something. Like it's kind of like that. Like they're just like nothing happens, but they're just barking at each other. You guys know that one meme? I don't know if you do. Sick man, yes. Okay, let's get going because I know people have things to go to. Yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. Yes. Okay. So I do realize that this is kind of a big thing to read, but we're gonna have an SAQ practice, okay? And so this is gonna be painful for me. I'm gonna actually I'll paste an image. Yes, I will post this slideshow. You want me to do it right now? Guess I can. Gonna go to sleep. Okay, that's cool. I believe it's that. Okay, so please read this and then answer A, B, and C, and treat this like it's an AP exam, please. Okay. This is good for your practice. It might seem really boring, or, you know, I remember a lot of the times, you can just say like, oh, I'll do this later or something, or I don't have to do this on the call. But then or like I'll do the classwork at home or something, but then like I'll never do it. And I think you guys are like, I mean, I don't know you guys, but I'm pretty good at procrastinating, and I assume you guys are too. So you guys should probably do it right now, so you don't put it off until later, for real. Put it into like a text notepad or something, or Google document or something, and paste it in to the chat, please. Okay, so currently I'm recording the thing on, you know, I'm gonna give it to reading. I don't know who was it reading. It was well, I don't remember what his name was, like Cameron or something. But he's gonna post down to the YouTube channel. Um, the Five Hive YouTube channel. Search it up. It's got like at least 200,000 subscribers. I know that. Um, yeah. You can ping reading. He's in this lecture, and you should like spam ping him and uh and ask him. Yeah. So I'll just give you guys like 5 minutes. I mean, so on the AP exam, I don't remember how much time you have, but you have like 40 minutes for three SAQs, I think, right? About. So I'll give you 10 minutes. How about that? 10 minutes to do this. Should I make it bigger? How do I make it bigger? Oh, oops. Make this big. Okay, I might be an idiot. Oh, that's huge. It's almost bigger than your mom. Okay. Yes, big. Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good. Oh, I clicked on the link. So yeah. You will see a lot of recordings pop up. It's only April. It's like early April, so there's not as many lectures as later in the month. But there's gonna be a lot of videos. Um, some of them might not be about history. Some of them might be like science and math and language. But oh, sorry. I think I think OBS like the recording software like records my voice very quietly compared to what you hear in Discord. So you will have to like increase the volume a lot or something. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. Maybe I'll like try and ask the person who uploads the video to increase the volume. Oh, someone responded. One claim that the authors make in the first paragraph is that Muslim scholars and Sufi mystics migrated to India in search of jobs, opportunities to study, or to spread their beliefs. Um, yeah, that's good. Thank you, reading. Yes, he's right. Some people actually, I last year I did a Unit 6 lecture and I actually didn't. I don't think I recorded it, so that was probably not good. Or maybe I deleted the recording or something, but I don't have it. Sure, that's. I guess that's true. Oh, by the way, one thing about SAQs when they ask for evidence, do they want a straight quote or can I paraphrase? So they do. I don't think you should put a quote. I don't know if they will punish you for it, but it's not good to do that, I think. Paraphrase. Also, when it says identify, I mean, um, usually I follow the T format, like TEA, like you know what they threw in the Harvard, which is like topic, evidence, analyze. This is a pretty good format to go by because whenever it says explain, um, like identify is usually I'll do like two sentences, but then for an explain I'll do like three sentences, maybe even four sentences, but four is like the absolute max. And so you always want to start. You want to copy the prompt. It's like for A, it's identify one claim that the author makes in the first paragraph. So you can say your first sentence is one claim that the author makes in the first paragraph is that I don't know uh what was it? One claim that the author makes in the first paragraph is that some of the best poets emigrated from Persia. Like that's a good one. But then you can also include in a second sentence, which is evidence. And I guess for that one, it wouldn't make sense to use evidence though. But yeah. Wait, don't leave yet. I think they left. Okay, that's not good. Oh, please, please do not leave. Please do not leave. Please, please. I have something. Wait. Or I mean, you can leave technically. I mean, I can't stop you, but I encourage you to stay. All right. So I think since everyone is on this document, I'm gonna get to the end, right? So the 2024 LEQ was literally on. I mean, you can choose it, right? But one of them was about the spread of religions, cultures, and ideas in Afro-Eurasia, which is literally what we talked about. So you should definitely pay attention to this unit. Study this one a lot. I mean, there's not that much to study, but study this one a good amount because it will. I guarantee you, it will show up a good amount in the exam. Okay, so this was on the 2024 LEQ. I think I picked this one for my LEQ. Okay, what's gonna show up? So the Manchu Empire, the Songhai, Aztec. These are not gonna show up. Aztec. Inca, Tokugawa, Ottoman, Safavid Empire, Mughal Empire, and Europe. So a lot of these things I didn't talk about because I don't think they're that important. Like Cusco, I think that's like a city. That's like their capital city. No one really cares about that one. I mean, but like the civil service exam, uh, Q. Q is like the hairstyle that people used to have. Like the Ottoman Empire, they had the Janissaries. So Janissaries is important. That's like their elite military. Sunni Islam. Uh, they like 1453 is their important year because they killed the Roman Empire that year. In Europe, they had the Protestant Reformation and they had the Treaty of Versailles. Some important characters. So honestly, you don't really need to know these people. Maybe Martin Luther is pretty important. Um, Suleiman the First. He is a influential Ottoman ruler. Akbar, actually, you should know that guy though. Akbar. He was the guy in the Mughal Empire who was extremely religiously tolerant. I think his wife was actually Hindu, and he was Muslim. So that's like kind of crazy if you think about it. Mehmed II. He's the guy who destroyed the Roman Empire in 1453, and that's really it. That's like a big, it's like really oversimplified, but what it's about. Geography. You guys know this. Okay, so I'm getting to the end of the lecture, but I need you guys to do the survey, please. Okay? So I'm gonna paste it in chat. But I need you guys to fill out this lecture feedback form and tell me how I did when I lectured you guys. Because if you guys do that, then I'm gonna become a better lecturer next week, right? Oh, thank you very much. Well, maybe you should say that. Write it down. You should say, please do more of it if anything. I will say though, I mean, I am a little bit disappointed on the number of people in the lecture. It's like there's like 13 people. Um, but that's all right. I mean, it is what it is. That's life. It would be great if we had like 50 people in here, and that'd be lit. The author notes how imperial painters who interacted between each other, such as Persian, Mughal, and Rajput, resulting in artistic innovation. Cool. The Mughal rulers promoted knowledge and education, encouraging. Yeah. So for C, you should you have to say you have to start the sentence off, and you don't have to, but like it's good to. It's good practice too because it makes sure that you're never gonna miss a point. You're just gonna say Mughal rulers in the period of 1450 to 1750 um encouraged this because um blah blah blah. It sounds so stupid to like rephrase it, but it's important because it helps get your point across. Especially when they read a lot of these, it gets really dull fast. I think they did. I mean, I have no idea to be honest, but I'm pretty sure they did. Mughal rulers may have encouraged syncretic behavior to consolidate their power inside of India. In a given source, it stated that the population of Muslims grew from 400,000 to 1200 in 1200 to 50 million in 1800. Muslims appreciated the religious tolerance in the empire. One reason why Mughal rulers in the period circa 1450 to 1750 would have encouraged interaction is because it would have led to prosperity and peace in the population. Perfect. That's follow blood. He got the right answer. Right? He's on top right now. When the two major religious majorities prosper and share ideas willingly, it leads to less violence and a smarter, richer population. Perfect. strengthening the empire and providing legitimization. When people travel to the empire, they see interactions and prosperity, making them think the ruler is successful in uniting the population. It's a great answer. It is a little long. I think you could have done without the last sentence, but that would get the point. That would definitely get a point on the AP exam. Remember, get as many points as you can. That's how it works. Why am I saying that? It's so obvious. Am I stupid? Um, the LEQ. We're not doing the LEQ. We are not doing the LEQ. I was just showing you, like, this is a potential LEQ. Like, please study Unit 3 because this might happen on your AP exam. You know? I mean, it happened in 2024, so it might happen this year. Thank you for filling out the form. Thank you very much. Please, please. Wait, did you get a 5, by the way? Yes, I did. I did. Yeah. The thing I think about when I think about my success on the exam. Oh no, no, I did not get a 1. No. I don't know. People might think I got 1 or something because I talk about it really simplified, but I think it's good because uh the simplified explanation is often more memorable. So if you're gonna get anything into a student's head, you know, might as well be the simplified version instead of the long and tedious one. Is the exam like really specific with questions, or do they mainly ask for the broad connections? Um, that's a good question. So, what do you mean by really specific questions? So, like, there might be a question that's like, I mean, the DBQ is very specific. That's how the DBQ works. So, I remember my year, 2024, the DBQ was something about communism. Uh, in fact, we can check. Why don't we check? Past AP exams, um, AP World. I can't believe they cut out all these, by the way. Okay. I think I had set 1. Yes, dude, I remember the Hitler SAQ. That one was so easy. Like, look at this one. Identify one political purpose of the image. Like, this is so obviously. Look, men and women, save the German family, vote for Adolf Hitler. Like, this is so easy. One of the easiest questions ever. Okay. Oh, evaluate to the extent to which communist rule and transformed Soviet and Chinese societies between 1930 to 1990. So, this is really specific, right? It's Chinese and Soviet or Russian, right? And it's about communism. So you can only talk about communism and you can only talk about China and Soviet Union, which is kind of crazy, but you will have specific questions. And then some might be more like the LEQs are usually more vague. So it'll be like societies were affected by new technologies that transformed methods of production. Develop an argument about industrialization that led to economic or social change. So that one's really easy. You can just make stuff up, right? You can make up your own evidence. But the DBQs are always more specific. And I also encourage anyone to read question 2. It is diabolical, and it shook me to the core because I almost cried when I was reading document 2. My goodness, I don't even want to read it again. It's crazy, so sad. Forgive me, Father, dude. Yeah, I don't even know why they put that on the DBQ, right? Like, Like it was I was like gonna start cracking up or not cracking up. I was gonna start crying on the exam, man. What are we doing right now? We are done with the lecture. Sorry. I'm so sorry. But we are done. We're almost done. Yeah. But it will be recorded. I mean, you probably don't want to watch the recording though. It's kind of boring if you watch like 2 hours of recording. But you're always, open to it. I did send the slideshow link. It's somewhere up there. Like AP Classroom MCQ progress checks are hella specific on unit tests. Is that how they will show up on the AP exam, or are there more broad connections between units and developments? So if you're talking about multiple choice, you're gonna have a really specific question. Um, huh? Okay, wait, let me answer. I have a book actually. Let me get a practice MCQ. 1 second. Okay, so some practice MCQs they will be about, like um they'll have like a document, but then some will have just words, right? And so yeah, or some of them might be like read the excerpt for the questions of 4 through 6 or something, right? Okay, so yeah, here's a practice book. It says the Mongol Empire compared to other empires in history in what way? Okay, and you can say this is the dumbest answers ever, but it was the largest land empire of all time. B, it was the size of the Holy Roman Empire. C, it lasted as long as the Ottoman. Or D, it used naval. And the question was, yeah, no problem. So this is some random multiple choice that I got from a book. And the question was the Mongol Empire compared to other empires in history in what way? And so this is about the type of specificity speci, spe, specificity spe, specificity of the MCQs, right? Um, and that's really it. I mean, and obviously the answer is A. And I mean, to me, most of the answers on the MCQ are pretty obvious, and I don't think you guys will have that much trouble with them. Okay, I see people are slowly trickling out, so I'm gonna end the lecture soon. Uh, oh, please answer. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I remember I took A push last year, and I remember we would have a lot of multiple choice exams, and I would just ace them and without any studying. But um, I remember the multiple choice was really easy for me because the writing put me on the spot. But everyone's different, you know. Alexander's was not the largest. No, it was not. It was the Mongol Empire. Wait, did you need a question answered? Okay, I don't think he had a question for me to answer. Okay, so any last remarks before I send you on your very way? There's only 8 people in the audience now. It was like 20, and then please do the form though. Please do the form. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for listening. You guys can leave. Go ahead. Yep, thank you for listening. I'm not sure if Prof Piano is alive. I feel like there was a little bit of an anticlimactic end to this lecture. Okay. So you guys, wait, reading, are you just here to, or actually, are you even in the AP world? I think maybe you are. Okay. Let's, try and, I'll wait a little bit. Okay. So I'm gonna end it. If you want to leave, you can leave. Uh, let's stop sharing. Oh, hello, a new person in the lecture. Hello. You kind of missed the AP World lecture, but you know that's cool because it's recorded. I'm gonna stop the recording now.